So here's a simple to execute yet incredibly powerful exploit that will make a mage extremely hard to kill. Go to an inn or somewhere you can hearth to, such as a faction capital. I'll be using Valdrakken here. Make sure you have the Greater Invisibility talent selected. This won't work without it. If you want to try this out, be aware it doesn't work for everyone, so be very careful to do exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing this in real time. I won't use any editing until I finish showing the exploit. Now, cast Greater Invisibility, and immediately that you do, log out, just as you see I'm doing here. As soon as you do that, go back to the login screen and log straight back in on the same character. Now, if this has worked, what should happen is that your character will appear slightly translucent, and more importantly, they'll have a buff indicating that they have a 60% damage reduction. Note that there is no timer on this buff. This buff is connected to Greater Invisibility. It's supposed to be active during Greater Invisibility and for 3 seconds after only. Clearly, the Greater Invisibility buff controls the damage reduction buff, and when we remove Greater Invisibility by logging out, it doesn't cancel the damage reduction buff properly. By logging out before that happens, we are basically using what hackers call a timing attack, which is when two different programming states get confused. Now, if this has worked for you, then you can take this anywhere within the open world. It is always a good idea to check your combat logs when you get a glitch like this, as sometimes what may seem like a major exploit is just a tooltip error, but this one does check out. The buff will last indefinitely, provided you don't either die, go through a loading screen, or any kind of zone-based teleport. 60% damage reduction will enable you to kill any other players 1 versus 1 and make elite mobs trivial. It doesn't quite make you invincible. Enough players can get together and kill you. There is a surprising amount of world PvP content in this expansion, and you can get a ton of bloody tokens, sparks of life and trophies of strife, not to mention honor with this method, and gear up really fast. Now, why am I giving away such a wonderful method publicly? There's a couple of reasons. First, I shared this with my patrons a while back in an article, and a number of them stated that it did not work for them. I was not able to locate the reason for this. It still works for me perfectly to this day. So I thought it would be a good idea to make a video so I can show the method visually to make it easier to copy what I'm doing. It is possible that there is some strange interaction between talents that is making this exploit possible. So here's my talent tree. If you want to try and replicate my talents, remember to save your existing talent set before using a new loadout when you try mine. It is very easy to cancel your existing talents by mistake. Additionally, it's worth mentioning that I could not get this to work in instances where it would be really valuable. There may actually be a way to do that, but the basic problem is that Greater Invisibility has a slightly shorter duration than the 20 seconds it takes to log out outside of an inn or faction capital. If you can somehow extend Greater Invisibility to last longer than the logout duration, then you have something potentially very game-breaking. So enjoy trying to figure that one out. Another really interesting thing about this method is that someone posted it on Bug Report a month ago, and Blizzard still have not fixed it, suggesting they don't know how to. So if you can get this to work, then you might have something fun to screw around with for a while. If you enjoy this type of exploit, then we have two really powerful tricks on my Patreon right now which work for everybody. One is a ridiculously powerful one-click leveling exploit. Everyone seems to love that one. And one of the best raw gold exploits ever, which allows you to farm dungeons endlessly with no instance lockout. No, I have no idea how this happened.